It's all for you. Yeah, yo. There whenever it matters, and even more when you feel like it doesn't. Protect you so you never feel like you wasn't. Know I'm right alongside you. Either that or I'm behind you, but always got you. End of discussion, nothing means more. First one to offer is shoulders for what you reach for. Thought I saw the eyes of the world until I seen yours. And know that I ain't see a better view yet. I'm with whatever, so don't ever you fret. Know that you covered, not a hurdle or a heartbreak. A change what a partake, cause none of them won't ever get comfortable in your walkway. My job is to aware you, fully loaded, prepare you for all of the above that I'm never letting get near you. But still in all, give you every advantage I found. Couldn't find a better fit for them, along with my crown. And since the baton was passed, I've been down. Cause failing's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.
What's up, everybody? This is Ishmael from Dad Is Not a Noun. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing good. I'm excited because I have this awesome brother with me. I've been trying to annoy the hell out of him in the DM. Say, when are you going to do my podcast? When you going to do my podcast? And I know he's busy. He's a teacher. He's a father. He's a husband. You know, he got this brand called Black Man Reading, which is dope, which is awesome. He's making reading sexy.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, you know. And I'm proud to have this brother on. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Brother, introduce yourself.
What's going on? I am Jared P. Woods, also known as Akili Nzuri of A Black Man Reading and ablackmanreading.com. First of all, man, thanks to Ishmael for having me on and for always supporting in ways that y'all can't even see. Amazing brother and amazing friend on this journey. You know what I mean? And yeah. I run a page on Instagram called A Black Man Reading. Initially, it was like A Black Man Reading, exploring and experiencing, right? Like literally just showcasing what it looks like for this particular Black man to read, and then hopefully creating a community in where you have multiple Black men reading, right? And of course, it's grown into something that I couldn't have even seen, right? At its inception. And so we got that. We have the website, and me and my brother Reggie have Books Are Pop Culture on Instagram as well. So yeah, grateful to be here.
And I'm grateful for you to be here, man, because that's the one thing too, is that, you know, you wear so many hats, man. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a teacher, you know, you got so much going on. So before we get into that, the first question I want to pose to you, because, you know, we're still in a pandemic, right? A lot of people think we're not in a pandemic, but we are. And so what I want to ask you is, what have you learned about yourself personally as a father, as a husband, that you didn't know about yourself through the pandemic?
Man, the importance of presence is something that I think was special for me and probably everyone in the people who are important in your life, and then also outside in terms of community. So once you have to kind of come face to face with that, like how important presence is, you have to then like bend yourself or stretch yourself so that you can be present, right? And that you're making the best of time, which is our most valuable resource. And so I started to really think about, okay, so if this is happening, what is the universe trying to teach us, and specifically me, in this pandemic, right? And I think that's what it was. And so I've been making it a very pressing matter that I spend time with my loved ones, and that I also spend time with myself, and just become better at the things that I think are important, right? And so I know you've seen it, and if anyone checks out what I'm doing with the Black Man Reading, I've really vamped it up over the past year and a half. Multiple author interviews, multiple different types of content. I think that's kind of one thing that makes my page special. It's not like your average Bookstagram account. You know what I mean? Like I'm not really invested in everything looking perfect. It's me, like raw, and reading and talking about how those books make me feel, not necessarily rating them and saying which one I think is good, which one I think is bad, but more so this is the experience that I explored, and then I present, you know, my writing, I guess, right?
And you do a hell of a good job. But before we get into Black Men
Thank you.
Reading, talk about. I want to touch on presents because I think that's important. Because a lot of people know, because you post that sometimes a lot on your platform, of the books that you show to your children. So, as a teacher through the pandemic, talk about that challenge of being present, because for a little bit we were locked down, so you
Yeah.
couldn't interact with your students. So
Mhm.
talk about that mental aspect of presence, even though you weren't there in the classroom, you had to be virtual. So talk about that challenge.
Oh well, I mean, I'm an unorthodox teacher as well, right? Like I don't I'm not a traditionalist by any means, right? So like my whole thing is that I think I've noticed about myself is they are learning and they don't even know they're learning. You know, they're so used to the traditionalist mode of teaching, sit down, talk when I say talk, et cetera, that they aren't even aware that they're learning when they're like in conversation with me and in the classroom. And so even when we were virtual, right, I took things that I learned in creating this and what I do with like my IG lives and stuff, and took that and used it in the virtual classroom. You know, like I say things like drop this emoji if you understood what I said. Drop this emoji if you're confused. And where other teachers were having issues with engagement, I wasn't having those issues, you know? And that's not to like toot my own horn, but that's more so to say we got to be more intentional about engaging with these new students. Education needs to advance because they are advanced, and so that was important. And as we came out of that with the hybrid um, setup, I think one thing that I do really well is build relationships. They know I care. They know I know who they are. All of them, the loud ones, the quiet ones, the ones that draw. You know what I mean? I build. I'm a community builder in terms of that. Um, is what I think I've learned. Also, that is important in terms of education during the pandemic.
And I think that's important too, is you have to connect with your students, because that
Hmm.
old way of thinking of education, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
You gotta find ways, like what you're doing on social media, to engage with your students. Like the brother Tim Carr, who used TikTok to keep his students
yeah,
engaged. So
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think I think schools have to learn to adapt into the current environment that we're in.
Yeah, and of course, in safe ways, right? Safe ways where you're protecting the children's identity and confidentiality, of course, right? But it means something for them to see that I have so many followers and that I'm doing exactly what I'm telling them is important in the ELA classroom, you know, and they can see, you know how kids are. What are you teaching me that I'm going to use, right? Well, here it is. Like I write essays, right? Literally. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm writing essays literally. So I'm asking you to write essays, and while you write your essay behind me, you gonna look on this board, right? And I'm editing and revising my own stuff. You know, this is live and this is real. You know, and I think if more teachers, because kids learn from people they like and people who are excited. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And so they know when you're not excited in the classroom. They know when you don't believe in what you're saying.
And I love your philosophy is exploring and experience. So take me back to, like, was it your parents that got you into loving books? So take me
Hmm.
to that journey.
Oh, definitely, my mom. Um, I've been reading since I was 3. She taught me how to read with those. I think they're called little golden books. You know what I'm talking about? Those little
Okay, yes, I
joints
do.
with
Yeah.
Bambi. The back
Yes.
of the spine is golden. And she taught me how to read with those, and they weren't enough, right? Like she
Right,
started noticing I was killing them.
right.
You know, we go in I think like Fred's or something, Dollar General, and scoop about 10 of them, and I'm done before we get to the house. And you know, so I started getting bigger books, and you get in school, you got to accelerate a reader. You know, people don't even really want to compete because I'm filling it up, eating all the pizza. You know what I'm saying? I'm eating all the pizza. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no pizza for nobody.
That's right.
And I think there was something to be said about me blurring the lines of what an intelligent person should look like and should do, or like how they should move, right? Because you
Right.
know how when you're in school you have this. this is a nerd thing. Well,
Yeah.
okay, I'm a nerd and I play sport. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Right.
you don't have to pigeonhole yourself. You can do everything,
Right.
you know, and be everything. And I took that, right, and kind of just kept going. You know, I've been reading since then.
And just talk about that challenge too, because I see yourself as a blurred. I don't know if you know what that blurred, the word blurred means. It's basically a
Mm-hmm.
black nerd, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's into comic books, that loves to read, you know, the things that people don't think is
Anime,
goofy,
all that. Yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff. Like I go back because I'm an 80s baby. So I go
Mm-hmm.
back to Revenge of the Nerds. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's my movie back in the days. But can you kind of talk about that challenge growing up where, you do well in sports, but you're a blur, but at the same time you had that portion of the community. Like what are you doing? Like
Okay.
so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
Well, first, I want to say, hey, I wasn't just killing it,
Okay.
in the
I'm
sports.
just giving you
In
hypes up,
case
man. I'm
somebody,
giving
in case somebody from home is watching, I know I wasn't just putting up 200 yards. You know what I'm saying? I understand that you ain't gotta, but I get where you're going with that, right? But there were times when people laughed. Like people laughed at me in terms of like, well, first of all, like when I'm posting books early on, why are you posting these books? Surely you have homework. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Or this is like a part of like a college assignment. And even before then, you're in high school and you're reading what you reading for type thing, right? But then also um in high school and afterwards they were like, that's just what he does type thing too. And I think that it kind of became normalized because I had been doing it so long. It was like, of course he's going to win the Accelerator Reader this year. He's been winning it for 3 or 4 years, and so I mean, it's a sticky situation because I know everybody's situation like that isn't as blessed. Sometimes people treat intelligent people at that age in that age range terrible.
Right.
But I'll tell you this one thing I did that I think was very important is I remember when I was younger that when people laughed at me and when I kind of became cool, right? I made sure that that wasn't the environment that people found themselves in. Yeah, I'm cool, but yo, what you doing over there? Like, tell me about this Dungeons and Dragons. You know what I'm saying? Put me on, right? And I think that's where we need to be.
Mhm.
Because we when we get in that space, there lies love, there lives learning and understanding, and that's kind of what I want to. That's another thing, right? That I want what I do to do. You can click, 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 click. You can do all that and
Yep.
have a book in front of you.
That's right.
We don't have to choose. We are infinite beings. We don't have to choose.
And I think that's a great thing too. That's important too. Is like I'm gonna let the people know. I had a friend that was into LARPing. You know what LARPing is, right?
Uh-huh. Yep, absolutely.
All right. All right.
Live action role playing.
Yes. And he's
I
like,
know
yo,
that.
Ish.
Like, yeah.
He's like, Ish, you should come with me and check it out. And I did.
hmm
And it was cool.
Exploring and experiencing.
And I explored
You
and
go.
experienced, but I won't ever do it again. But I experienced. And I think that's the one thing too is getting out of your world. Because again,
Absolutely.
honestly, our world is like this and this and that.
Uh-huh.
But it's more to the world than and that. And I think
hmm
what you're doing with a black man reading is important because you're getting people to step out of their norm
Absolutely.
and experience books. Because
hmm
sometimes, especially through the pandemic that we're in, when you're isolated, you can get a book and experience something new from different books.
Absolutely. Yep.
So just talk about that importance of just that experience of like picking up a book. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So it's just like what we were just talking about with the LARPing, right? Like you have. I'm thinking about one of the Chronicles of Narnia books where they have this is prior, I believe, to the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and they go in this space that's outside of space where there are these puddles, and you can jump in and out of these puddles into different worlds. That's what humanity is, right? And so when we are open to that, like what I was saying, like tell me about the Dungeons and Dragons,
Yeah.
right? Then you expand your world. And so books do that. That was, I mean, there was, there was nothing like it, right? Like, so I could go anywhere. I could learn anything. There's no problem I can have that hasn't been written about, you know? And why wouldn't I want to enjoy that, you know? And if you don't understand that, then I'm going to show you what that enjoyment looks like, what that experience looks like, so that you can understand that it's available for you too. And that's what books do, man. I mean, even if it's not even the person, like I was reading about voice in writing, right? And I was, and I'm thinking about how at first I wanted me to be in my characters that I'm working on, right? But they have their own voices too for people to hear. And so it's important to start listening to those characters, um, and letting those worlds be built so that other people can kind of jump in and out of those puddles. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's the one thing is that, I love that puddle analogy you said. Well, because I feel like, we live in this current situation where, you have young black kids reading at a fourth grade level. And
Hmm.
so talk about how can we kind of deal with that situation. To me, I think the way you deal with it is like what we've been talking about, is making books fun, make it
Hmm.
cool, you know,
Yeah.
also affirmation, representation. So
Hmm.
kind of talk about that, because I think that's one of the big things about Black man reading, that you constantly have authors that look like us. So can you
Yeah.
kind of tie those two together as
Okay.
well?
So the first thing I think we need to do is interrogate what a reading level is and how it's assessed. Reading levels are generally assessed on texts that don't allow these kids to see themselves
Right.
in them, right? And so they time out. They don't want to read it, and I don't even necessarily mean like black characters or black stories. No, they need stories that deal with things that they're dealing with,
Right.
right? They can't keep reading Don Quixote and being assessed on that. So I think that's probably for everybody, because we know reading levels are down,
Yeah. Across the board.
across races and ethnicities, right? And so if we can start interrogating that and getting some folk on those boards that create those tests to start trying to actually diversify those texts, then we can see some change in that, right? And I think too, right? So then what are we then going to be assessing, right? I think vocabulary sometimes gets in the way of access to
Yep.
some of these texts, right? So then you need to redefine the ways that you give kids access to these texts, right? And then maybe there we can do some work in terms of reading levels, right? After we have done the work to change what it means to assess those. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing too, in prioritizing Black, Indigenous, people of color on my page, is showing these stories are widely available, and so we educators don't really have our hands tied in terms of availability. We just got to do the work to getting these different stories in their hands, and I think that's important. And I didn't want to just talk about it, right? So I build this.
And you did build it. And then also, are you worried about the possibility, because you see the decline of libraries? You don't see as many libraries as I did when I was growing up. There were libraries everywhere,
Mhm.
and that's the one thing, especially in our community. Like people talk about food desert, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's not a lot of healthy places for Black people to go to in the community.
Uh-huh.
Um, do you worry about that, the book desert, when it comes to kids having access to libraries?
We got to redefine what libraries look like. We gotta like, we gotta change that, right? Because I mean, even if there were a lot of them, do you think that those kids would want to go in there, right? Like you have to provide them with a certain type of maybe choice. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking about what I would want a library to look like, a modern contemporary library, So maybe so of course there's books, right? Because we want them to fall in love with this aspect of exploring and experiencing. So there's books there, there's a podcast studio there, there's a studio there, right? Because we know our kids want to rap, right? And maybe even be poets, right? And so the
Right.
proximity of those books and or podcast studios and or paint studios, because we know our kids draw and express ourselves in all these different ways, right? Then we can see like libraries like really, really evolve. You know what I mean? And so we got to get in front of that and build those, right? Like, so we got these food deserts and we got these I would say intellectual deserts, right? Okay, so now we fill them, right? And then we let them make it blossom, right? Because they might build something in that podcast studio that's not a podcast that we didn't even see, right? We didn't provide that space for them. And so if we can get involved in that, then we can kind of change those narratives and maybe even the world, right?
I agree, man, because we all do our part, you know what I mean? And you build it, they'll come. What you did with a Black man reading. So talk about that fulfillment of building something when a lot of people told you, why are you building a platform about reading? Like, and having just Black people on, so just talk about that.
People don't know what they like until somebody else tell them. You know what I'm saying? People don't know what they like until somebody else tell them, and then it's unfortunate, but it's cool, right? Like, and I think so. This is something I do with my students too. I ask them what they want to be when they grow up, right? And they tell me, they say lawyer, doctor, you know what I'm saying, engineer, right? All that good stuff. Now this isn't completely mine, right? Like, I had been doing it, but I didn't like. It wasn't as nice and sexy as Hill Harper made it, right? He was like, we should give them choice. We should tell them go to college and take everything that's available. But like, what I do is I'll say, okay, lawyer, pediatrician, I like it. Now, what do you do for hours when no one's looking? You know what I'm saying? And then they tell me what they really want to be, right? And I try to keep it vague. It's something that I used to do all the time when somebody asked me what I wanted to be. I've been doing this for probably like 8 years. I put on the paper I want to get paid a decent amount to read and write. I don't necessarily want to be an author. Right. I don't necessarily want to, be a professor. I just want to get paid to read and write. And I've been saying that for like 8 to 10 years, right? On those surveys that professors give me, on when I come in professional development, right? And first of all, it's fun to watch the person who has to read that deal with the fact that I didn't give them what I'm supposed to give them. But then also to be able to say, now I get paid sometimes a decent amount to literally just read and write, right? You know what I'm saying? And so if we can get kids to say, I draw. Like, I don't, like, no one has to pay me to draw, right? Because, and I say all that to say, you can sustain that when no one's looking. Yeah. I love to read and write. I'm going to do this if there's, you've watched it. I probably came from 700 followers to 75 in front of all y'all's eyes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's the same thing. I'm going to do this whether there are that many people watching or not. It's like what Biggie said, Puff said, the key to this is treating everything like it's your first song, your first project, every time. Even this. You know what I'm saying? We doing it. And it like you said, if you build it and the content's the same, people can it's blue magic, you know what I'm saying? Yes. You can stamp that, you know what I'm saying? Then it is what it is, it's beautiful whether you look at it or not. And that's how I would say that feels, to be able to say, I've built a platform, right? Because at that point it's easy. This is what I'm gonna do this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this.
And I think too, it goes to a level of I love your gratitude about it too, because you come from an idea of I got to do it to I get to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get to wake up every morning. I get to write. I get to go on IG, share my books with my fellow brother Reggie. Me. So I love that, man.
Yeah, man. You know what I say? There's really a wolf, man. You know, everybody else is a sheep. They sitting there and they're waiting on it. They, you know, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and the wolf is there, and the wolf does what he wants to do, right? And ultimately wins in the end, type deal, right? And we all can be wolves.
That's
You
right.
know, everyone. Jay-Z says everyone has a divine level of talent. It's all about finding that one thing and exploring it, experiencing it, and presenting it to the world. If you want to, you know, you don't. I mean, you. I just think doing what you love is just so important in some way. You know, so you don't have to build a platform, you know, but just do what you love, you know, because you're here. And like you said, man, I'm super thankful. You know, I'm super thankful.
And I'm just thankful that you're doing a great job with it. But yeah, talk about that, the relationship with you and Reggie and the new adventure. Talk about that.
Mhm. Books are pop culture. We on every Sunday, 3 p.m. Mississippi time. You know what I'm saying? Um, and we do that, the work that we both do, um, for a sustained amount of time. You know, um, where we talk about books. We talk about books as pop culture, right? Like, so we go through a series of articles or a series of events and happenings in the literary world from our perspective. And you know, I love every minute of it. It's fun. You've been there. It's the
Ah,
fellowship. The fellowship is amazing. That's what we call our community. They're amazing. They're givers. They let us get better in front of them, and they let us learn. You know, in public. What's better than that? You know what I'm saying?
no, I
Again,
feel you.
what's better than that? You
And I
know?
think, yeah, and I think that's the one thing is, that what the pandemic has taught us is that brothership. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to be in the same room to have
Word.
that
Word.
brothership. You can have that brothership like what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
just talk about the relationship you have with the Real Dads Network, with the Real Dads Book Club, because that's another dope element too. Talk about that.
hmm So the Real Dads Network and the Real Dads Book Club. Derek is the homie. Everybody in there is the homie. Uncle Mike's the homie. Kendrick's the big homie. You know what I'm saying? Like these, this is just it's a beautiful network to be a part of. You know, you got the Black Rhino. I mean, I could go on and on about brothers in there, but like, um, you know, just saw what I was doing and reached out. Um, and brought me into that community. It's a space where like brothers all over the world are like chiming in, from various different backgrounds, various different cultures, and giving and healing together and just enjoying each other. And then you got the Real Dads Book Club, which you know is a very interesting time as well. I try to like build in that community through various different types of books, and then also I think like it's all training,
Yeah.
right? Like that's all training, like you said, whenever this becomes what it is, we can be like, okay, yeah, he been doing that at Real Dad's Network, he been doing that at Black Man Reading. You know what I'm saying? And that's the 10,000 hours. People don't like those self-help books, but that's the 10. I've done the 10,000 hours.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying? At that point, right? And I've got the opportunity to do it with amazing folk like the people at the Real Dads Network. Even that Hill Harper
Yeah.
thing I said from Hill Harper,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
came from Real Dads Network. You know what I'm saying? You know, so wherever I end up, Derek call, you call, I'm trying to come. I'm trying to get there, man. You know it. I'm trying to come.
And that's the one thing that you got a lot going on, and I know you'll be there, even though sometimes you're not there, but you're there in spirit.
hmm
So,
hmm
and that's the one beauty, the beautiful thing about it is just that brothership, that brotherhood, that coming together,
Absolutely.
supporting each other, whatever
hmm
they're doing, just
hmm
being there, whether if it's you on IG, just popping up on IG, like, hey, what's up, brother? I can't be on
Yeah.
here that long, but I'm just here to show you love. But
Word,
that
word.
matters a lot. But before we end this, you talk about the 10 hours, right? Talk about that as a role as a father and your son when it comes to books. Talk about that.
Same thing, man. You know, Shucky got to do the 10,000 hours, man. You know, Because at that age, like for instance, when I was 3, I ask people this all the time. Like these cool people that I get in spaces with, like did you think when you were riding your bike through your neighborhood, you'd be here right now? And that's why we need to make riding the bike more important. You know what I'm saying? So like when he's in his room, when you're reading this book, you don't know if you're gonna be an author, an NBA player who needs to write about his experience. You don't know. You just don't. Look at that. The Suns lost the NBA. They ain't know. They didn't know that was gonna happen when they was riding the bike.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? Or when they're hooping, or like I used to put up trash cans in the front of my house, and I used to dribble around the trash can so I could get better at dribbling. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't make it to the NBA, right? But I did that, right? So like when you watch like James Harden win the MVP and you see him doing that, those moments are very important. And so if you can teach kids, especially your kid, you're gonna let your baby be out here floundering. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna let your baby be out here floundering? Nah, not mine. You know what I'm saying? So and then same thing, like I said earlier, he don't gotta like reading like I like reading. He draws very well. You know what I'm saying? So I need 10,000 hours in that. You know what I'm saying? He games very well. He gonna eat you up in Fortnite. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You better bring your breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Because he gonna make you run for it. And again, that's like that wolf element, right? Like whatever they love, there is. I think Jason Reynolds said that like some educators try to force feed their brand of blackness into students, right? That's not what that's about. Some parents try to force feed their brand of excellence into their kids. You know what I'm saying? That's not what me and my wife do. You know what I'm saying? We want him to be excellent in his own right. And so folk need to pay attention to their kids, what they like, and blow that up.
That's
your baby like putting glue in between his hands and then watching that glue open up.
Right.
Get that baby involved in polymer science.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Because you just don't know. Then he gonna be on the show like, I used to 3 years old. I used to get that glue in my hand, Ishmael.
That's
and I used to open that hand up with that glue. You know what I'm saying? And now I work with Gatorade. I have enhanced the elasticity of their gum.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So man, bless your babies by letting them be themselves.
That's right. Or you never know. It might become a famous puppeteer.
You never know. You never know, son.
Right?
Word. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Brother, I appreciate you for jumping on with me. This was dope. We got to do this again. Before we end it, how can people find you?
Yo, I'm on Instagram @ A Black Man Reading. Don't go to Black Man Reading. It's A Black Man Reading. Now you can go to Black Men Read. That's my homeboy, Mitris. You know what I'm saying? They doing some powerful work. If you look for me, I'm at A Black Man Reading. You can go to ablackmanreading.com, right? You can find me there writing extended pieces on books that I'm reading and extended pieces on experiences I'm exploring, right? And you can find me at Books Are Pop Culture. You know what I'm saying? That's me and Reggie. We, like I said, 3 p.m. every Sunday, Mississippi time. You can find me at the Real Dads Network. You know what I'm saying? Every Thursday. Holla at Ishmael. End of the month. Last Wednesday. Holla at Ishmael. Holla at me. And you can find me at various different places and spaces, man. I'm trying to become somebody that's never been. I think that's fabulous. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. And you there, man. Is there an event you're going to be at coming soon, or did that happen already?
Oh man, I got the Mississippi Book Festival. That it got canceled in terms of in person, but we're doing some recording. I'm gonna do a recording with Kiese Layman on revision. I have Anita Kopacz at the end of the month on the 27th. What is this? What's this month? We're in August. August 27th. On my page, A Black Man Reading, we're doing Shallow Waters, her novel off of Charlemagne the God's imprint. Black Privilege Publishing through Atria and Simon and Schuster. And let's see what else. Yeah, man, I do that. That's ABMR Conversations. That's on the page. Yeah, man, I'm trying to stay busy, stay working. You know what I'm saying?
You are working, man. And the shirt is a prime example of it, man.
Oh yes, oh yes. Be on the lookout for this. Be on the lookout for this merch. This one's coming. ABMR merch. You got the ABMR Pot of Gold shirt. We got a few available right now on there. You go look. You got might have your size. Just keep checking, man. Get down with the program.
That's right. That's right.
Luck tends to favor those in motion.
That's right. And all those dope links are gonna be in the description below. Follow this brother. He's doing big things, and I love this brother. And what else can I say? So he already got a big head now. Now his head is like 10 times big now. So I'm gonna leave it like that.
Oh man.
Look out for more episodes of the That Is Not Now podcast coming soon. I got other great guests coming soon, so check that out. But actually, more importantly, check out this brother, because Akili, Nzuri in Swahili means good sense, but also good mind. So
yes,
good mind and keep good sense. And we out.
Yeah. Peace. Thanks, man.